Well, Vernon, welcome to Unity in Maidenhead, and welcome to our little Unity profile slot. And in this slot, we look at the way people connected with Unity at the beginning, not just the ideas and not just the what people often talk about in workshops and services, but the more personal side of it, and how Unity came into people's lives.
In a former life, I was in financial services. And I had a client who came from Jamaica, Montego Bay in particular. And I had a desire to open a high-class men's store in Montego Bay. And it so happened that this client of mine was in clothing business. So we got together and decided to buy a property in Montego Bay and to open this men's store. But during the process, my co-director told me that his parents had returned to Montego Bay, and this insurance director found a property for them, which they purchased and moved back to Jamaica. And of course, it was no coincidence that he is from Montego Bay, and I wanted to open a business in Montego Bay, so we decided to go ahead. When we went back to Montego Bay together, he introduced me to the person who found the property for his parents and who insured it and all of that. And as we needed insurance for the building, he took me to meet her in her company. And of course I saw a monograph on her desk, which was from a company that we used to study together, that I used to study in the 70s. So I asked her if she belonged to that. She said yes. And I got very interested. However, the next week I went back to complete the insurance business, and she asked me, what do I do with myself at the weekends while I'm in Montego Bay while this thing is going through? I said, well, I go to the beach or go swimming, go sightseeing. And she said, would you like to come to church with me on Sunday morning? I said, sure, nothing else to do. So I went to the church. It was Unity Faith Temple, Montego Bay, on the Sunday morning. And when I walked in, and the minister got up to make the first affirmation, and I heard her say, there is only one presence and one power, one activity in the universe and in my life, God the good omnipotent. I thought, yes, that struck a chord with me. And I started going back. I went back the next week, and they had daily word and Bible study on Wednesday evenings. And I would go there at 7 o'clock on Wednesday evenings. So I did that for the duration of the time I was in Montego Bay, which was about another 3-4 weeks. Then I came back to England enthused. It took me nearly 5 months to find the first Unity Church.
Really? What year would that have been?
In 1988. So I found Unity London in Victoria, simply because I was visiting with a client of mine, and she had a daily word on a coffee table. So I asked her, where did she get that? And she gave me the Maidenhead address and telephone number. And I got in touch with Maidenhead, and they told me where Unity met, and I started there. And from that first meeting, I met Mercedes Dawkins there.
All right, yes.
She was a member of Unity London at that time, and she asked me for a lift home. So I gave her a drive home, and she introduced me to her family, her husband and 3 children, and we talked, and since then we became good friends. But for me, I was so impressed with Unity, I started studying. Whenever they had workshops, whenever they had courses going, whether Unity London, Unity South London, or Maidenhead. Reverend David Davenport
Yes,
used
yeah.
to run
Yes,
weekend
yes.
courses here. And I would come to each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Then when I moved to live in Milton Keynes, it was even easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember in 1996, I had a letter from Reverend David Davenport inviting me to a celebration day at the Commonwealth Institute. And I went there. At that time, I had been studying in different centers, but I had no idea what points I was accumulating. But I got this letter inviting me to come to the celebration. And lo and behold, I was invited up to receive my personal development
Really?
certificate.
You didn't even know you were
I
going to...
didn't even know I had
Yeah.
completed enough points,
Yeah.
study points to get that. So that started.
That's a licensed Unity teacher, is that right?
But no, that was the first part, the personal development.
Right, I see, right.
That was the first certificate,
Yeah.
and that's moving towards a licensed
Yes,
teacher. So
yes, I
I
understand.
continued to study over the years, and eventually, in 1999, I moved back to Jamaica. And of course, I had a friend who, for 22 years, he was my doctor and my best friend. I went back home to live in Jamaica, and I spent the whole afternoon with him before I left. About 6 months later, his wife phoned me in Montego Bay and asked for me. So when I went to see my mother, who lived about 100 miles away, drove back the night, Thursday night, about 9 o'clock. And my wife asked if I had a call from Montego Bay. Well, from London. I said, no, I'm just coming back from St. Mary. So she said there was a call and I should call Mitford's wife. That's my friend's wife. I called her on the Friday morning and she said, Vernon, I have some sad news for you. Mitford died yesterday of a heart attack and I need you to be here. So as I put the phone down that Friday morning, I went down to Montego Bay, bought a ticket, and flew out on Saturday. I arrived back in London on Sunday morning, where his wife met me. And suffice it to say, I completed the whole funeral arrangements with her. But when the Monday morning we walked into the mortuary, and I saw my friend lying there. It's the first time in 22 years we did not embrace each other or shake hands. He was lying there, and I thought, the first thing came to my mind, there but for the grace of God go I. So I started thinking about my life. And then coming back from the printers where we went to have the program for the funeral done, his wife said to me, Vernon, I have just completed my MBA and I got a scholarship from the Winston Churchill Foundation. Why don't you apply for one? Because if you're doing anything in the humanities, you can get a funding for about £6,000 or £7,000. So I said, you know, that's good. Because Claire and I could go to Unity Village and do the licensed teachers program. So
that's what you did.
I started that process. But then 2 weeks after the memorial service, I went out on a Monday morning, and in the evening when I came back, she said to me that there was a call from my wife in Jamaica that my mother is in hospital. That was Monday evening. Tuesday morning I called and my mother died. So that was Tuesday. I managed to get a ticket and flew back to Montego Bay on Thursday. My wife met me at the airport. Of course, we lived about 10 minutes drive from the airport. And of course, we sat down to talk about what happened in London, the funeral and so on. And she said, Vernon, I have to tell you, I have decided to apply to Unity Village for the ministerial program. Now, we had not said anything to each other, but 6,000 miles apart, I was thinking of that, and so it transpired that we both decided to apply, and both got scholarships.
And you went across to Unity Village
And we went
and were there for...
from Unity Village from May 2000 until July 2002, and we graduate, and then we were ordained.